1, 2. Awesome. See the feedback. "15 years ago, an organization working to connect underserved young Africans with digital opportunities and ensuring protection of their rights was started." I'm talking about nothing other than Paradigm Initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put hands together for PIN. So as you all know, PIN is doing this all over Africa. I'll kindly ask my brothers and sisters representing Cameroon, are you here? Do you have anyone from Cameroon? Okay, what about Zambia? Please make some noise, Zambia. Of course, we should have Nigeria in the house. Nigeria, please. We also have Senegal. Senegal, some noise, Senegal. I also understand that we also have got Angola. Let's give it up for Angola and Mozambique. And of course, we've got Zimbabwe, isn't it? Is there any country that I've left out? Please make some noise for Namibia. Okay, Botswana, then South Africa. Wow, I think we're going to finish the whole planet, isn't it? South Africa, let's give it up for South Africa as well. Uganda, yes, Uganda. Malawi, not yet, Malawi. Congo, yes. Okay, I'm about to mention the whole continent. Which one? So we've left out? We have Swaziland. Okay, cool. So we'll end it there. So, ladies and gentlemen, our sincere apologies for starting a little bit late, but we are ready to roll now. Before we get started, allow me to, protocol, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Paradigm Initiative board members who are in the house, as well as the partners. We've got Misa there, and all the partners who are joining us today. I understand that today the program started on Tuesday, isn't it? So there's been a lot that has been going on during different sessions and all that. Say, what are your key takeaways for now?
Well, it has been of digital, digital rights issues. Yeah, so what the big takeaway was that civil society in Zimbabwe is ready to roll with the digital rights issues.
Civil society in Zimbabwe is ready to give it up for him. Thank you so much. Where are you joining us from?
From Harare, Zimbabwe.
Awesome, my sister from Zimbabwe. Major takeaway.
There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but it is possible.
Yes, we are young, so grab it by our own hands and do something about it. So now we're about to get into the debate. Any expectations from this event?
Thank you. To learn more about digital rights.
I think we all have got an open mind. We're here to learn, isn't it? Let's give it up for all the speakers, those who have shared. Okay, so for those who have got the translation devices on the tables, who need to use them, for French, it's going to be channel number 1. For English, it's channel 3. Are there any who need translation devices who do not have them? We are going to be starting with the English debate. So if you are from a French-speaking country and you need one, may you please just show by raising a hand so that you can be assisted before we start. If you need a translation device, so you're all sorted, isn't it? Okay, awesome. Moving on with our program. What to expect? We are also going to have poetry and music that's going to be done by the Afro Poetic team. Please show them by raising your hands. Yes, they've got something prepared for us. We're going to be dazzled by their performance during the course of the program. At this point in time, allow me to call upon Nompilo Simanje, who is going to be representing the Executive Director for MISA, to give us some welcome remarks.
Afternoon, everyone. You seem excited. Are you excited? Okay, can you show by way of raising your hands, waving, who is excited about the debate? Okay, yeah, that's better. Because now I was very worried that maybe you're not happy to be in Zimbabwe. Colleagues, please allow me to welcome you. As the MC said, my name is Nompilo Simanje, and I'm a ICT police officer with the Media Institute of Southern Africa, the Zimbabwe chapter. And I am here representing our executive director, Thabani Moyo, who was not able to join us this afternoon. I had heard that there might be some representatives from the ministry and from Port Trust, but I presume they're not yet here. But just to acknowledge the presence of esteemed members of the board of Paradigm Initiative here present. I understand the board chair is here, Prof. Pat Utomi, board member Dr. Ida Opoku-Mensah, board member Dr. Jumai Zainab Uma Ajola, partners of Paradigm Initiative here present. I understand we have 18 countries from the continent represented here today. Paradigm Initiative staff, led by the executive director here present, Benga Sesan, members of civil society here in Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwean media practitioners here present. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome you all here today, this afternoon. I'm greatly honored to welcome you on behalf of MISA Zimbabwe, and allow me to relay the apologies of our director and our regional chairperson who had to attend other regional commitments. I take this opportunity to congratulate Paradigm Initiative on its 15th anniversary milestone. And thank you for choosing Zimbabwe as your destination to celebrate that achievement. A round of applause from the Zimbabwean colleagues, please. All of us gathered here today are here to celebrate the immense work that Paradigm Initiative has done across the continent to expand the rights and inclusion space over the years, while also impacting the lives of underserved youth by improving their livelihoods and protection of their rights online. I had forgotten that we have translation. Please accept my apologies, the translation team. I appreciate the work that Paradigm Initiative has been doing, and just to highlight that I myself personally am an alumni of the Paradigm Initiative Life Training Program that trains on ICT's entrepreneurship, life skills, and financial readiness to young people. And through that program as well, I've been able to also train young people on digital rights and digital safety and security. So we applaud the work that Paradigm Initiative has been doing, and to highlight that young people have a role to play towards improving digital rights and inclusion on the continent. And I would like to take this opportunity again to applaud the young individuals who have made it this in the debate competition organized by PIN as part of the anniversary commemorations. A round of applause again to the young people. Thank you very much. I want to take this opportunity to urge all young people across the continent to raise awareness on emerging digital rights issues and to contribute to policy processes, especially with regards to issues around child online protection, data protection and privacy, and also internet access and affordability. Ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that there's also a trend among African governments towards increasing digital surveillance. It is therefore high time that we started having multi-stakeholder conversations and strategic interventions that focus on whether state digital surveillance should take priority over personal privacy. While we commend governments for interventions aimed at adopting technology, we should also ensure that such initiatives are not avenues for unjustified mass surveillance and data processing. In that regard, there's an opportunity for concerted efforts across board, including with policymakers, the academia, and the private sector to address these emerging issues and to ensure that digital rights are safeguarded at all times. On behalf of MISA, we appreciate the partnership that Paradigm has had with us, and today we reflect and also celebrate the work that we have done together here in Zimbabwe through multi-stakeholder engagements and also through knowledge production. This has included collaboration through the Digital Rights Inclusion Forum, DRIF, the DigiTalks with Focus, and also the Londa Report, which has continued to serve as a yardstick on how Zimbabwe is faring as far as digital rights are concerned. With these not so few words, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to Zimbabwe and to Paradigm Initiative Festival. We look forward to further collaborations, particularly towards bridging the digital divide and promoting the inclusion of marginalized groups and groups at risk, people with disabilities. Thank you. Tinotenda Siyabonga.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up again for Nompilo. I think you could all sense the passion whilst she was speaking, isn't it? When she mentioned that she's an alumni, I was like, that's why. Thank you so much for that. So I'm also going to have the time now for the Executive Director for Paradigm Initiative, being Sisan, to give us some welcome remarks. Over to you.
Thank you. So the funny thing is I had no idea who was going to be here. So you can imagine how exciting it was for me to run into faces and people that I either haven't a while or I know we've been working together for a long time. So thank you for coming. Thank you for, of course, Misa, thank you. It's great to do this with you. And our partners, thank you for all the support. I'm smiling as I'm seeing some people because I guess maybe they just arrived. But for the reason we're here this afternoon, you know, I was saying yesterday, I wish I had a gift to know who the winner is in advance, so that when they're speaking, I'll just whisper to the person beside me, don't listen. You know, but I have no such powers. But this is important for me personally, even beyond my work at Paradigm Initiative, because I know the big opportunity for young people not to contribute to the process alone, but to be part of it and learn and express themselves is something that I benefited, from many years ago. So I'm glad that we're seeing this debate. Thank you, respected panel of judges, accurate timekeeper. I'm trying to remember the things we used to say. And no, I didn't like my co-debater those days. They were my, I had to beat them, so I had to win. So, but anyway, for co-debaters, we recognize. Seriously, thank you so much. Being here, we're here today and tomorrow. And over the last at least 2 days, we've had some conversation about digital rights, and of course, enjoy the debate. And if you're rooting for a particular person and you don't win, it's okay. We're all winners, are we? Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, and enjoy the debate and everything else.
Thank you so much for those words. I like the "we are all winners" part. It makes others feel better, isn't it, when you lose? No, we are all winners, but oh, know that there's one winner. Not to scare the participants. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for these words. I think what I would also add on there is when debating, I think at the end of the day, this is healthy competition. It doesn't mean that you need to pull out the knives as well as guns after that and you are really enemies. But then this is just to understand the different points of views that each and every one of us has. But at the end of the day, I think also reach a consensus and agreement, isn't it? Okay, cool. So to lead us with regards to the debate, I'm going to call upon Angela, who will take us through the rules, the regulations, as well as greater details with regards to how the debate is going to be conducted. Angela, are you ready? Awesome. So at this point in time, allow me to leave it to Angela. Let's clap hands for her as she takes the stage.
Thank you, and a wonderful afternoon to everybody here. Thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to today. And at the end of today, we would finally know who the winner for this debate is. The debate actually started since July, and today we are here for the finals. Before we go into the debate proper, I'm just going to give a summary or run through what has happened and how we got to this point. So, as we all know, Ping turned 15 this year, and as part of the celebration of the 15th anniversary, we organized a debate for young Africans to speak about things surrounding or issues surrounding digital rights and inclusion in Africa. So that's the idea behind the debate, getting young people to speak about this issue, getting them involved in digital rights and inclusion. So the debate started in July, and the first round was actually an essay competition. It was an online essay competition, argumentative essay competition. And for that essay competition, we received, though we received more than these numbers of entries, but for the confirmed essay, we received 321 entries. And these 321 entries were from 39 African countries. So that was the amount of essay we received for the first round. Then after going through the submissions and grading them, we came down with just 8 people who qualified for the second round. Now, the second round also happened in July, but it was a virtual debate. It was a virtual debate between the 8 contestants, and it was more like a team competition because we had 2 people for each group. And again, I forgot to mention that the debate was actually categorized into 2 categories. So we had the English and we had the French category. So for the second round, we had 4 people under the English category and we had 4 people for the French category. Then they were paired into groups. So we had 2 persons against the other 2 persons. For the English category, we had Fadilat Modakiru from Benin Republic and Donald Onana from Cameroon. They competed against David Apovi from Benin Republic and Michael Yan from Cote d'Ivoire. At the end of the second round for the French category, Modilat Modachiru and Donald Onana won that round, and they are here today too for the final round where they will be competing against themselves. So today their opponents are not teammates. Then for the English category, we had Goska Matala and Grace Apollos. So Goska Matala is from DRC and Grace Apollos from Nigeria. So they were against Godfrey Malongo from Malawi and Chamaka Obaga from Nigeria. At the end of this round, Goska Matala and Apollos Grace won the second round. And today they are here again to compete against each other. So today we are going to be crowning the winner. At the end of the day, we're going to have just one winner and then one runner-up. So for each category, we're going to have one winner from English and one winner from French. So we are actually going to start with the English category now. But unfortunately, Goska was unable to make it to Harare, which means that Goska is online at the moment. So Goska is joining us online for the English category, and Grace is present here. So please, let's put a hand together for Grace Apollos. So this is Grace Apollos, and Goska will be joining us online. So let's see, I think Goska should be online now. But before then, so for the essay and the second round, the topic then was social and cultural norms in Africa are impeding the realization of digital rights and inclusion. So that was the topic for the argumentative essay and the topic for the second round, which they debated for. But today we have a new topic, still surrounding digital rights and inclusion. So for today, the debaters will be speaking on a whole different topic. And the topic for today is, should state digital surveillance take priority over personal privacy? and that's a tricky topic. But today we have somebody speaking for the topic and we have another speaking against the topic. So we have an affirmative speaker and we have a negative speaker. Somebody has to take side. And when it comes to debate, there is no particular correct stance. So the person who argues better with more points gets to win the debate. So for today, like I said, we have Grace Apollos here and we have Goska Matala. Let's see. Hello, Goska, if you're online, please can you turn on your camera? So let's introduce Goska before we begin. Hello, Goska. Okay,
hello.
That's Goska. Hi, Goska. Hi, Goska. Thank you for joining us. 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 Hi, Goska. Thank you for. Okay, Goska, I'm glad to have you here. So this is Goska Matala from DRC. So Goska and Grace will be competing against each other, though in the second round they teamed up to win the second round, but today they are opponents. So for the affirmative side, we have Grace Apollos. So for the negative side, we have Goska Matala. I'm not connected to Zoom. Okay, so Grace will be speaking for the affirmative side and Goska will be speaking for the negative side. I'm just going to quickly run through the guideline, then I'm going to introduce our judges. So our judges are here today to actually grade the debaters, and at the end of the day, we are going to take the cumulative score of the judges, or rather the average score from the 3 judges, and the person with the highest score will be the winner for today's debate. So I'm going to run through the debate guidelines so we know what we'll be looking at for the debate. So today, each contestant has 5 submissions to make. The debate is actually in 2 rounds. So for the first round, they are going to be introducing the topic and also they'll be listing out their point arguments. Then for the second round will be the rebuttal, where they go against their opponent's points and arguments. So they try to go against their opponent's points, or so they just find a way to counter their opponent's point, and that will be for. Then before their conclusion, this is where we need the audience. So please, we need you, and we'll be expecting questions from the audience. So we're looking at having at least 2 questions for each contestant. So if you can get like 2 questions for each contestant, because they will be scored on how they answer the question. So please, we'd like our audience to be attentive so you can be able to ask them questions. So at the end of the question part from the audience, then they will go ahead to give the final conclusion. So they are going to conclude, and after the conclusion, that will be the end of the debate. Then we'll wait for.
The
debate also has rules. So for the rules of the debate, for engagement, it has to be very respectful. So no use of derogatory comments. So contestants will have to observe this. So they have to be respectful even when they are going at each other. And then for the timing, we have allotted time for each submission from the contestants. For the first round, they have 5 minutes for each submission, and for the second round, they have 4 minutes for each submission. They have to be. If you look at the screen, you see that we have a timer up there, so they will be timed. They have to make sure that they are on time. If they actually speak past the time, they will lose 10. They will lose 2 points. Then at the end of the day, the winner of the debate is the person with the highest score. And that's the rules for the debate. Now for the judges, I would like to introduce our esteemed judges. For now, I'm just going to introduce the judges for the English category. And when it's time for the French category, we are going to introduce the judges for the French category. So first, I'm starting with, so we have Charles Kajolo Weka from Malawi. So Charles is a frontline human rights activist, founder and executive director of Youth and Society, a non-profit human rights and governance watchdog in Malawi. He has 10 years experience in human rights, governance, youth development, and NGO leadership. Charles is the current ambassador of Sustainable Development Goal 16 under 16 Youth Initiative hosted by the UNDP and the government of Italy. He's also the ambassador of Malawi 2063, the Malawi's long-term development vision. He has previously served in various governance and development capacity, including the National Integrity Committee of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, a non-governmental organization in Malawi. So that's Charles from Malawi. Let's put a hand applause for. So next to Charles is Peace Oliver Amunge. So Peace is from Uganda. Peace is the executive director of Women of Uganda Network. Peace is a communications specialist, gender digital rights activist, and a writer. She's currently the executive director of Women of Uganda Network. The Women of Uganda Network is an organization that promotes the use of technology by women and women's rights organization. She's a member of UN Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group with the Internet Governance from IGF. She's a mentor for Open Internet for Democracy Leaders Program, and Peace has authored a couple of online publications on topics related to gender and technology. Please, let's put a round of applause for Peace. And finally, for the third judge under the English category, we have Boye Adeboye. So Boye Adeboye, sorry, I repeated it this time. So we have Adeboye from Nigeria. So Adeboye Agegoke is leads the Paradigm Initiative Digital Rights Program in Africa, which includes advocating for rights respecting digital policy in Africa through policy intervention, stakeholder engagement, capacity building, strategic litigation, coalition building, and media campaign. Boye led advocacy for the passage of Digital Rights and Freedom Bill by the Nigeria Parliament. Boye is an alumni of the African School on Internet Governance. He has written several articles and authored many reports. He is a co-author of Digital Rights in Africa report by Paradigm Initiative. Boye has a very strong legislative engagement and policy influencing experience, having worked and influenced many legislation and policy in Africa. So please, let's put our hands together for Boye. So these are the three judges for the English category. And with that, we can now go into today's business. But before we do that, Bosca, I would like you to unmute your mic, turn on your camera, unmute your mic and speak. Let's confirm that we can hear you clearly. We hear you clearly. We hear you clearly. We hear you clearly. Hello. Hello. Hello, Bosca, can you hear me? Bosca,
Yes.
if you can hear me, please turn on your camera and say something.
Yes, madam. Yes, sorry, I was having some network issues. I got logged out for a moment.
Please say something so we can
Yes,
confirm we
I
can
got
hear you.
logged out for a moment, but now I'm back on. Can you hear me?
Okay, Goska, please unmute one more time and confirm you can hear us.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hear you. Can you hear me? Hear you. Can you hear me? Hear you. Can you?
Hello?
Once again, please confirm you can hear us.
Yes, I can.
Hello, Goska. Okay, let's do this one last time. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi, Goska. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, madam. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello? Goska, confirm you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me as well?
Okay. All right, thank you. So I think we can go ahead. Goska can hear me.
I'm not able to see the timer on my side.
Hello, Goska, confirm if you can see the timer now.
Yes, I can, madam. Yes.
Can you unmute and speak?
Yes, I've unmuted. Are you able to hear me?
Okay, so we are going to start the first round immediately. And for this round, each contestant have 5 minutes to make their submission. The first submission from each contestant is going to be an introduction to the topic. Then the second point is going to be each debater listing out their points and arguments. For the affirmative side, we have Grace Apollos, and for the negative side, we have Goska Matala. And for this round, Grace Apollos will first take the introduction. Then next we have Goska Matala with her own introduction, followed by Grace listing out her points and arguments. And finally, we have Goska Matala listing out her own points and arguments. Immediately after this round, we are going to go straight to the second round. So before we begin, just to test our audio and to ensure that everybody can hear, I would just like them to introduce themselves. When they introduce themselves, then we can start with the debates in full. So I'm going to start with Goska Online. So Goska, please tell us a little about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, my name is Goska Matala. I'm originally from the DRC, but I live in Eswatini, and I'm very excited to be here and very thrilled that Paradigm Initiative made a way for me to participate online, although I would have really loved to be there, but due to certain circumstances, I couldn't make it. But I'm really very thrilled to be here and very honored. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Goska. And we have Grace. So Grace, would like you to introduce yourself.
Good evening, distinguished guests. My name is Grace Apollos. I am a lawyer from Nigeria. I work with We the People from Nigeria. I'm really excited to be here. The trip was really fun, and I'm excited to see Zimbabwe. I hope you enjoyed the debate. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So that was a brief introduction from Goska and Grace. Now we're going to dive straight into the debate, and let me just remind us what the topic is once more. So they are debating on the motion which says, should state digital surveillance take priority over personal privacy? First, for making our first submission for the introduction is Grace Apollos, who is speaking on the affirmative side. So Grace, we're going to start the timer now. You have 5 minutes. So just look at the timer. Once it's 5 minutes, then you can start. Please make sure you complete at exactly or before 5 minutes. So just when you're ready, just let us know. Are you ready?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay, please go. You can start the timer now.
Good evening, Mr. Gbenga Shoshon, Executive Director, Paradigm Initiative, honorable judges, fellow debaters, other adjudicating bodies, and my distinguished audience. I've already introduced myself, so I'm to propose the topic, should state digital surveillance take priority over personal privacy? State digital surveillance is defined as the monitoring or observation of a group, person, or activity for information gathering, directing, and management, while personal privacy is the right to be free from interferences. State digital surveillance have been erroneously construed as a practice that is used to coerce or oppress members of the public towards some hidden governmental agenda. But that is, of course, not the reality of surveillance, which is used to instrumentalize information, to incite active productivity, and to create a threshold of allowable and non-allowable social crimes. Now, it is imperative at this point to state that arguments like this, whether state digital surveillance should take priority over personal privacy, is allowable in democratic countries, that in autocratic or authoritarian states, this conversation does not even arise, because what is seen in those states is total deprivation of rights, and we do not even have the opportunity to begin to argue rights to give priority. But as we all know, that is not the state that we're talking about here, because it is in democracy that all rights find their footing. Therefore, in a democratically elected government where dissent opinions are allowed and oppositions are allowed, and where the government recognizes that the welfare and security of the people is top priority, digital surveillance is used as a strategy for national security and not for malicious purposes. The fact that digital surveillance has contributed immensely to national security, or that its benefits outweigh that of personal privacy, cannot be overemphasized. In 1974, a man called James Joseph D'Angelo, also known as the Golden State Killer, perpetrated 50 murders and 12 rapes for 12 years between 1974 to 1986 across the state of California. In the end, it wasn't his fingerprints, it wasn't his cell phone records, it was a DNA website where citizens upload genetic information of themselves that gave him up. Now, the issue of privacy did not arise where, of course, the police have to go through DNA files of thousands of citizens because a crime has been solved. The International Journal of Law, Crime and Justice states that open street CCTV camera reduced crime by 47.40% in South Korea. The same thing in Philadelphia, the same reality in South Africa. We must understand that there is no right to privacy where national security is absent. When we analyze the Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs, we find out that there are two fundamental needs: physiological needs such as food, air, water, rest, and safety and security needs. Abraham Maslow proposes, and I agree, that until individual fundamental needs are met, they cannot develop the strong desire or motivation to achieve higher level needs, such as psychological needs and self-actualization. Therefore, national security is the premise, is the base upon which the right to privacy can be exercised. National security in the 21st century cuts across issues like corruption, transnational crimes, illegal immigration, and environmental degradation, as also corroborated by Martin Luther King III. Privacy is unique to individuals and vital to family life and personal dignity. But what is vital to survival is national security. As we begin further deliberations into this debate, permits me to leave two questions with you. Objectively, personal privacy and the safety of you and your loved ones, which would you pick? Can we even afford privacy in these times of insecurity? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So that was introduction from Grace, and now we are going to be listening to Goska for our own introduction. So Goska, you have 5 minutes for introduction. Are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me?
You can start.
Can you hear me? Wait, hold on. Sorry. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? I can't hear. Hello?
Message in chat. Let her know that we can hear her.
Hello, can you please restart the timer? Good afternoon, PIN members, judges, and our lovely audience. My name is Goska Matala, and today I will be debating against the notion, should state digital surveillance take priority over personal privacy? The key words to this debate are personal privacy and digital surveillance. Digital surveillance is the intricate supervision of an entire or substantial fraction of a population with the intention of monitoring those people. Supervision data can be done with or without the authorization of the personnel to detect, to monitor, to exploit, to protect, or to retain sensitive data. This is usually carried out by local and federal governments or its organizations. Prominent examples include surveillance cameras, wireless tapes, GPS tracking, or internet surveillance. Personal privacy, on the other hand, is a fundamental human right, essential for the protection of human dignity and the foundation of other human rights. According to the UN, privacy is a qualified human right where everybody has the right to not have their information processed, their bodies scrutinized, or their possessions searched. Privacy violation is therefore wrongful disclosure, theft, misuse of confidence and personal information, breach of data with non-compliance laws. Ladies and gentlemen, it would be a major criticism and contextual for us to present privacy and security as two separate things. The two are socially enacted practices which we encounter as we move with our day-to-day life. And a typical quote by the government usually is, if you have done nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide or nothing to fear. Ladies and gentlemen, all of us seated here, consciously or not, have something to hide, something that would harm us or the people we love if revealed in the wrong circumstance. Therefore, this phrase is used as a propaganda to justify their spying activities. The practice of digital state surveillance has from years ago to this day continued to be called into question. How can we continue living like this? The most significant challenge with privacy, you know what it is? It is that the rights can be compromised without the individual even being aware of it. Without the individual even being aware of it. We aren't being aware about the surveillance we are put under. We aren't given the capabilities to question these surveillances. How can we continue to live in such a society? And to spice it up, according to an article by the Aerospace Corporation, the US describes a future event termed the joint singularity, which explains that every single thing on surface Earth will be monitored by artificial intelligence and then redistributed in real time to the general public. How can we continue to go about thinking about such things being in the future without preventing them? Apart from the major implications of state surveillance, it brings about the chilling effect, where everybody feels under suspicion, feels under a threat, feels controlled. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter how many rights are put to protect our privacy, we can never be fully protected from digital surveillance. And you know what? There are already other organizations which are fighting against digital surveillance in order to protect our privacy. These include the Surveillance Technology, Open Rights Group, and the Privacy International. Ladies and gentlemen, with all these terms said, I affirm my position that state digital surveillance should not take priority over our personal privacy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Goska. So that was an introduction for this first round from Grace Apollos and Goska. For this round, they are going to be making their final submission now, and this time they are going to be listing out their points and arguments. First, we will have Grace do so, and next then we'll have Goska. So Grace, you have 5 minutes, and let us know when you're ready so we can start the timer. Okay, Grace, let us know when you're ready so we can reset the timer. Okay, you can start.
The argument that national state digital surveillance, whether state digital surveillance should take priority over personal privacy, is actually a forced argument. And I'll tell you why in 3 points. National security as the first. For well over decades, state digital surveillance have been a game changer in the security of our communities. Countries like France, Kenya, the Philippines, UK, and US states have adopted digital surveillance to combat crime and terrorism. The New York Times reported that digital surveillance reduced crimes by 50% in New Jersey, all crime types. That was as far back as 2007. Digital surveillance is indispensable for crime forecasting and post-crime investigation. The terrorist attack that happened in the US, known as the 9/11, that cut short the lives of 2,996 persons and injured over 6,000 others, proved or demonstrated to the US that they needed better strategies to safeguard the citizens. But ladies and gentlemen, there were evidence, there were proofs that prior to the 9/11, there were threats that would have been intercepted by digital surveillance, especially by communication interception. The prioritization of human lives for the need to support digital surveillance and national security over personal privacy. The second, digital surveillance as a combative measure for disease outbreaks and to ensure health security. The World Health Organization has said that public health surveillance is acceptable and approved to enable detection of disease outbreak and as a containment strategy. During the 2013 acute respiratory syndrome, Hong Kong used digital surveillance to identify cluster of the diseases. During the Ebola outbreak, 2014 to 2016 in West Africa, digital surveillance was used to monitor travel patterns and the disease. During the COVID-19, even more recently, digital surveillances like Bluetooth, GPS, CCTVs, and the likes were used to trace and track the infection and to warn citizens of a possible contagion risk. Mozambique experienced so much weakness in this surveillance in the COVID-19 pandemic that it has now sent a benefit and has pledged to strengthen or develop its surveillance system. Would you rather die from a pandemic, ladies and gentlemen, or allow the government use digital surveillance to detect diseases that prioritizes your health and tells you how to respond to life-threatening diseases? The third point, the safety and welfare of the city is actually a mandatory constitutional demand to every government. According to the social contract theory of Hobbes, man was in a state of nature, right was might, survival was by the yes. But men came together and gave up some of this right to an individual for their collective protection. What this means is that the primary purpose of government is the safety and the welfare of its citizens. What this also means is that government is allowed to develop mechanisms to abate and resolve internal and external violence or conflicts. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, there have been instances where leaders have resigned because they failed in their constitutional duty to prioritize the welfare of the citizens. In 2010, Yuko Atayoma of Japan, the Prime Minister of Japan, resigned because he failed his manifesto. He broke his manifesto that stemmed or germinated from the constitutional duty or requirement to prioritize the welfare of the citizens. In 2020, Hassan Diab, the Prime Minister of Lebanon, resigned because he could not take decisive steps to stop or prevent the explosion that destroyed half of the country's capital. If government fails in their primary purpose, they cannot achieve their secondary purposes. And where government fails in its primary responsibilities, they have not only failed the citizens, but they have desecrated the sacred provisions of the supreme law of the land, which gave them that duty, the Constitution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Grace. So that was Grace listing out our points and arguments. I hope you're taking notes because for the session where we need the audience to ask questions, we'd like to have like 2 questions each for the contestant. Next, we are going to have Goska Matala. Goska Matala will be listing out her points and arguments. Goska, are you ready?
Yes, yes. The following are my arguments of why I believe that state security should not take priority over our personal privacy. Number 1, I'll be giving you 4 points. Number 1, abuse of data. This can happen in 2 ways, internal ways or an external factor. For internal cases, the government or the FBI intentionally gains access to our personal data without consent. For example, according to an article by Elizabeth Goiten in 2019, the FBI violated the privacy rights of 10,000 American citizens. The FBI stretched beyond its jurisdiction and combed through data, looking for some evidence to solve domestic cases while lacking an actual predicate to open a full investigation. Secondly, external cases include hackers or any vile citizen going through data breaches, breaking firewalls, and accessing an individual's data. For example, in June 2021, according to an article by the 66 biggest data breaches in the world, there was a LinkedIn data breach which compromised the data of a lot of people, about 770 million people. Their geolocations were exposed, their email addresses were exposed, and this threatened their lives. How then can we say digital surveillance is helping us? Point number 2, it brings about inequality in public services. Okay, everybody, our right to privacy means that we have the right to attend and use social services without being held against our will, without being withdrawn or assigned to a different service system, right? Unfortunately, digital surveillance does not think so. It has regulated access to a lot of public services such as health and transport. For example, in Madrid, South Station, according to an article by Algorithm Watch, there are about 20 million people which are continuously being surveyed by face recognition systems at the bus stations. These people's faces are scanned for a potential match to a criminal. And if that match is attained, then they're dismayed from a bus. Some of these facial recognition systems even have errors. People end up being violated and their privacy breached. And also, according to a certain article by Stat article, during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a violent outbreak of information about the Black race, that they are dying more and they have more COVID. And this caused them to feel stigmatized and they never went for their health services. And this augmented the number of COVID-19 cases. Number 3, power that devours. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, it's not what it knows, it's what it can do with what it knows. You know why? Information is fuel and power, and law-abiding citizens must fear state surveillance because it makes it more likely that they'll become non-law-abiding citizens. Here's why. The problem with state surveillance is that it infringes on our personal rights, hindering our freedom of expression and participating, confronting us. Therefore, daring and confronting citizens will then go ahead and violate the laws brought by digital surveillance. For example, an article by the Chinese government confirms that state surveillance in China is accompanied with the threat of being imprisoned. 44 of China's jailed journalists, 32 of 44 jailed journalists were accused of searching of stuff on the internet, which violated Chinese protocol, which violated the internet. Just because they posted their comments, they were held accountable and they were jailed. How can we live like that? Lastly, there's discrimination. Our right to personal privacy means we have the right to not be discriminated We have the right to the same privacy despite our race, our ethnicity, or our religion. But digital surveillance does not see it that so. For example, according to an article by the ACLU, the US federal states confirmed the issue that face recognition technique only works best for white males than for Black people. What does this mean? If you're a Black person, they scan your face wrong, you get jailed, you get into detention. Here's an example. In February 2019, a man in New York City was apprehended and held for 10+ days in jail, and he spent over $5,000 to claim his innocence after he was wrongly matched by Face Intelligence for being someone who shoplifted. Ladies and gentlemen, all these points confirm my position. The state digital surveillance is an enemy and should be stopped. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Goska. Thank you, Goska and Grace, for this introduction and listening out your points and arguments. At this point, I'm sure that our audience have questions. So if you have questions, I'll just like you to indicate. Do you have any question for them? Though the question is not now, so when it's time for the question, we can have you ask the question. Because next we are moving straight to the second round. And for this second round is going to be the rebuter where they go against each other's point. Each participant gets to counter the other person's points and the arguments they are using. For this round, they have 4 minutes each, unlike the first round where we have 5 minutes for the point and introduction. So for this round, they have 4 minutes each to counter each other's point. And starting off this round is Goska. Goska will make the first rebuter. Then we have Grace take the first one for herself. And then we have the final rebuter from each of them, Goska and then Grace. At the end of this second round, we would like to hear from the audience. If you have questions, please, you can go ahead and ask them the question because they will also be graded how they answer the question. I'm going to start now with Goska. Goska, you have 4 minutes for this round. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So now you're ready. You can please go ahead.
My opponent had mentioned that surveillance helps solve crime cases. Ladies and gentlemen, the measure of how effective digital surveillance is should be by how much crime rates reduce and not by how many offenses they capture and assist in the prosecution of. According to a resource article by ADT, it shows that surveillance helps reduce crime only by 50%. This is because over 20 minutes of surveillance watching footage on monitoring screens, people get distracted and bored, and they fail to find the intricate small blind spots. This shows that digital surveillance is not so effective. Secondly, terrorists and criminals are very smart, ladies and gentlemen. They are aware of the increased artificial intelligence ways in digital surveillance, and hence they have shifted and adopted a strategy when they take their crimes. In addition, an article by the ACLU in 2022 explained a majority of crime are not even solved by digital surveillance, but instead they are solved by forensic science, which uses biological evidence, not digital surveillance, to solve crime cases. Secondly, my opponent had mentioned that surveillance helps monitor diseases like Ebola, COVID-19, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, concerns had already been made concerning COVID-19 pandemic, that once the government overlaps this virus, they will then use their surveillance technologies to monitor and discriminate against groups of people. Surprisingly, this was already been in play. Data from Florida, Michigan, and Louisiana, for example, revealed that there is racial and ethnic information about COVID-19 cases were spread across the internet, discriminating people of color, discriminating the Black and the Arabic populations. Due to this, people felt discriminated and they refrained from going to healthcare services. They felt like they were the lower class. They felt like they were dirty. And because of this shame, they could not face certain health services. And hence, instead of digital surveillance helping to decrease COVID-19 cases, to decrease other cases of illnesses, it augmented cases. For example, in Florida, 32% of the population consists of Black people. But you know what? 70% of the population died from COVID-19. How is this possible? Lastly, my opponent had mentioned that surveillance gives us a sense of security and productivity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an illusion. There is no concrete sense of security, as millions of lives can be misled and violated in a millisecond. For example, in 2015, 6.2 million people were affected when the Georgia Secretary of State announced that voters' private information were leaked accidentally through a download link, which was sent to 12 groups. This made people to feel violated. They will know that you didn't vote for this person. They were at risk of being killed, at risk of being violated in their homes. How then can we say digital surveillance is helping us if it is putting people at risk like this? In addition, there is only a sense of security if a majority feel that way. How can we claim that there's security when people of color are still being discriminated, when people from different ethnic groups are being discriminated? We can only claim security and productivity when it is happening holistically as a nation, as a globe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Goska. Still on the topic, should state digital surveillance take priority over personal privacy? Next, we have Grace Apollos with her first rebuttal. Grace, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you can start.
Opotukodulu has observed, it seems that the crux of my opponent's argument is based on the right to privacy. But what is the right to privacy, or what is privacy? Is it the personal information you have to give up before you are able to sign up for social media? Is it the one that you have posted on your status that you were coming from the PIN festival? This is my rebuttal, that where there is the right to privacy, ladies and gentlemen, there is a corresponding derogation of that right. Let's go to Nigeria. Section 37 of the Constitution of Nigeria states that citizens have the right to privacy. Ladies and gentlemen, go to Section 45. It says that that right that has been guaranteed in Section 37 can be derogated, can be suspended in the interest of public health and security. Let's come to Zimbabwe. Section 57 of the Zimbabwe Constitution says, yes, citizens, you have the right to privacy. Ladies and gentlemen, go to Section 86. Say that that right that it has guaranteed can be suspended, derogated, made away with in the interest of public health and security. Do you want to talk about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? Do you want to talk about the African Charter, which does not even have an express provision for privacy? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the word privacy is not found in the US Constitution. I come again. There is no word like privacy in the US Constitution. So from where do we begin to argue that it is a right? Where there is rights, there's a derogation of right. So that right has been derogated. The right to privacy is allowable under law to be derogated in the interest of the citizen, in the interest of the collective people. That's one. My opponent made mention of China. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, when I started this debate, I made a distinction between liberal states and autocratic states. If you read the Constitution of China, it said what is practiced in those states. The system of government is the people's democratic dictatorship, the people's democratic dictatorship. So those countries do not even come into contemplation. It is not within the ambit of this argument, because I have already made a distinction that that is not the countries we talk about. Countries that rights are not recognized, how can we even begin to ask which right to give priority? According to Lord Denning, a renowned English lawyer and judge, you cannot place something on nothing and expect it to stand. In a country where the rights of the people are not recognized, on what basis, on what premise are we going to argue which right to give priority? It is not within the context of this argument. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Grace. So we've had from Grace, we've had from Goska. They are going to go again for the second rebuttal, and this time again, Goska is going to take hers, and after Goska, we have Grace. Goska, are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can start now.
Okay. My opponents had mentioned that surveillance helps stop crime, give us a sense of security. No, people, we are not having a sense of security. Instead, we are continuously being harassed by the different oppressive ways of digital surveillance. For example, according to an article made by Reporters Without Borders, just made a week ago, the Iranian state has locked its people into an empty information recurrence of internet shutdowns. 60% of the Iranian population uses the internet to post about their personal struggles, their personal information. According to the Privacy Act of 1974, it prevents unauthorized disclosure of personal information. This means that if a citizen wants to use the internet to post their personal information, violating that is indeed harassment, is indeed taking away their peace. Secondly, my opponents had also mentioned that some states have different laws and constitutions. Ladies and gentlemen, every state respects human rights, right? Despite the variations in the constitution, every single state knows that they have to respect human rights. It is a human need. It is a human requirement. Every state respects human rights. The extent is already severe. Different countries and different states experience this differently. Maybe in China, they have a constitution and they experience internet shutdowns. They experience this. But looking at it holistically, every single hemisphere experiences digital surveillance in a similar yet different way. For most African countries, they are discriminated. Where there are more African people, they are discriminated by facial intelligence programs for face recognition, which has multiple flaws and target Black people for merely existing. According to the global UN report, statistics show that an average of 4.8 websites a month in the US are compromised. So that is the share of the United States of America. This is how they experience digital surveillance. And for Africans, sometimes when entering crime-prone areas, they are gone through extensive search just because of what? Their color. An example, an Arabic man in an airport in Northampton was apprehended and went through an extensive search just because of his color. He was swabbed through all his devices, all his bags, just because he was Arabic. Ladies and gentlemen, if we do not stop digital surveillance, we'll continue to feel oppressed because we are Black, we are Arabic, we are people of color. We people of color have a voice. And today is the day that we should stand up and acclimate that voice. In addition, my opponents had mentioned that digital surveillance helps for the greater good in a way, to help solve the issues of 9/11, to detect bombs, to be able to take certain things to protect our environment. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, if a culprit has a bomb or anything, if we put digital surveillance out there, if we put cameras, are we going to be able to detect or to see that they have a bomb? No, because they do all this stuff where in their homes, behind the scenes. We do not see that. Therefore, saying that digital surveillance helps in these certain situations is a propaganda. It does not help. Number one, if an individual is entering an organization, say a bank or an organizational setting, they expect to be searched. Why? Because each organization has its different terms and conditions. A bank or a certain stadium may require you to be searched. And that is not digital surveillance. That is merely monitoring based on that organization's terms and conditions. Therefore, bearing in mind that digital surveillance only solves 50% of crime, it means that it is not as effective in detecting bombs because there are criminals out there that do things behind the scenes, behind our naked eye, which we could not see. Therefore, we must continue to oppress digital surveillance because this fake thing of security, of safety, does no longer exist. We are no longer safe, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Much, Goska. So that is it for the rebuter for Goska and Grace. Next, we are expecting questions from the audience. So do you have any questions for them? If you have any question, please can you indicate by raising up your hand? Do you have any questions so far from what they have said? Okay. So we have next we are going to have Grace, but in the meantime, before Grace comes up, if you have a question, please let us know. So Grace, you're up for the next and final rebuta. Thank you.
What you observe? Well, my opponents keep mentioning autocratic states. Maybe we should look at Wikipedia. Maybe we should see the examples of tyrannic states that this conversation cannot even hold there. If I was coming to a country like China, maybe, and tell them that I'm coming to argue this topic, maybe I will not be here. Maybe I will be sent back to Nigeria. Iran, according to Wikipedia, is a tyrannic country, and it does not follow in this argument. And then my opponent said digital surveillance aids or racial discrimination and all that. But that is not what digital surveillance that does. That is actually racial profiling or negative profiling. That is not digital surveillance. That is not what digital surveillance does. In a democratic and every country, digital surveillance is used in the interest of the citizens. My opponent also mentioned using digital surveillance and citizens begin to feel like suspects. She also mentioned that terrorists are getting smart. Yes, she said that. So what the answer to that is, since terrorists are getting smart, government should be one step ahead of terrorists. I'll give you an example of mass surveillance. If you walk into a mall, there's a CCTV camera. That CCTV camera captures your entrance, your move about, and your exit. Now, the CCTV camera does not care whether you went to say hello to the customer service, or you went to take a picture, or you actually went there to shop. It captures everything. But why can't you go to the owner of the mall and say, oh, but I'm not doing anything. Oh, but I'm not a suspect. Why does your camera capture me? But while you're taking that picture and somebody snatches the phone from your hand, the CCTV camera captures the facial identification, maybe a scar, maybe anything to identify him with, and the perpetrator is apprehended and brought to justice, and you are relieved. Oh, now, so you want digital surveillance because you have become a victim of a crime. That is what we are talking about here. Digital surveillance is not about you. It is for you. It is not to take advantage of you. It is for your own advantage. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So now we are going to take questions from the audience. If you have a question, please indicate and let us know who your question is for.
Thanks, Henriette and Susan. I have the same question for both of you. If you were given a large amount of money, let's say $100 million, what would you invest that in? Increased digital surveillance in your country, or in increased investigative law enforcement capacity, including forensic science? So what would you choose and why?
Thank you very much. So Grace and Goska, I hope you got that question. So it's for both of you. Grace, we can start with you. So after you, then Goska. Okay. Please, can you repeat the question?
I'll repeat the question. If you had $100 million, which you could invest in increasing the security in your country, what would you prioritize with that money? What would you spend it on? Increased digital surveillance, that's option one, or option two, increased investigative, policing, law enforcement capacity, and forensic science. And your choice and your reason for making that choice.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I believe that this question are intertwined. It's not like this or the other. Now, digital surveillance is actually a step. When I mentioned the example in California, yes, the Golden State Killer in 1974. Now, the samples were taken from the crime site. Samples were taken from the crime site. That sample was now used, it went under forensic investigation and all that. So I think it's a two-way thing. It's actually the digital surveillance first. You capture this one, you get this one, then it points you to a point of investigation. So I'll go through digital surveillance. Thank you.
Okay, Goska, you can go ahead with your own answer to the same question. Hello, Goska.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Personally, from my research, I will choose increasing law enforcement and increasing our biological and forensic science. This is the reason. Firstly, digital surveillance, like I mentioned, is oppressive. It only solves about 50% of crime rate, which means it is not as effective as it should have been. I would have been really thrilled if I found out that digital surveillance can solve 70% of crime, but no, it only solves 50% of crime. Therefore, I will lean towards investing in law enforcement and forensic science for the following reasons. First of all, by investing in law enforcement, we increase the chances of having lower crime rates. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if a criminal wanted to break in or wanted to do something malicious, but saw, for example, a police van parked outside or saw a police around, they would refrain first rather than them seeing a camera, a picture somewhere up there, not even sure people are even monitoring that camera. Because like I mentioned, after only 20 minutes of watching the camera, people fall to below acceptable levels where they are not even paying attention to these cameras. Therefore, I will invest in that and in forensic science, because biological forensic science is without a doubt the way to find criminals. You cannot deny your fingerprint. You cannot deny your any of your organs or your anything from you, your hair, your DNA. Your DNA is your DNA. So therefore, if we use forensic science, we cannot pass any criminal. We will be able to target more criminals and solve more crime cases and prevent a lot of crime cases rather than investing in digital surveillance, a mere camera, a mere screening. People are so smart nowadays. 5G has also entered into criminals. They know what to do, what to do to be ahead. For example, criminals know how to detach tracking devices, know how to detach censoring systems. Therefore, if we think that digital surveillance can help keep us safe by putting a tracker, by putting a sensor, we are mistaken, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
And Grace, do we have any more questions for them? We can take one more question each for them if we have any. Okay.
Okay. My name is Ahmed Agunchola, and my question is this: as we continue to generate huge amounts of data, who should be in possession, in control, and have the responsibility of securing that data? And my question is to both of you.
Okay, Goska, you go first this time.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. If I heard you right, you were asking, like, if we have a large
Hello,
amount
Goska,
of
please,
data,
can
who
you
should be
mute
the
your
one in
video?
charge? Yes, I've
for
unmuted,
this
madam.
one, you have 3 minutes each to answer the question.
Yes, thank you. As I was saying,
We can't hear you.
If I understand your question right.
Please unmute your mic.
Oh, can you hear me now? Yes, I unmuted it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, as I was saying, if I understand your question very well, you're talking about if we have large amounts of data, who should be the one to process or to keep our data? My answer is simple. Anybody but the government, anybody but the internet, the government system of collecting our data. Why should we expose our data to the government? Why should we expose our data online? There are so many data breaches which have occurred in numerous occasions over different countries worldwide, which has jeopardized a lot of data, a lot of security numbers, a lot of credit card numbers, a lot of personal geolocations. We jeopardize people's location, jeopardize people's life. So the internet, the surveillance system, they cannot have our personal information. Why should they have our information when I can keep my own information, when you can keep your own information? Why share the information? Why keep your data out there for hackers to take it, to use it against you, to ask for ransom amounts of money, to say that I'll post this if you do not give me this amount of money? Why are you putting yourself at risk? Why are you putting yourself in denial? Why are you doing this to yourself? Why not keep your own data? Why should we put it violated out there to let hackers, to let the FBI that we trust, ladies and gentlemen, they are the same FBI that breaches in whenever they feel like and combs through our data to get information that can help solve their cases. Of course, FBI, some of them want to be seen as good people, want to be seen as they are helping the society. So they want to be promoted. So they can do anything, ladies and gentlemen, to take your information, to go through something and expose it. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot put our information out there. We cannot let the government or the internet at large be able to save our information, to save things. We cannot. We need to keep our own information, have our own personal information, because that is the only way we can be safe until this paradigm of digital surveillance is withdrawn, until organizations like STOP, organizations like International Privacy, finally get their say to combat this. For now, we should keep our data to ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Goska. Grace, you're next. So you have 3 minutes.
Starting an existing protocol. In response to the question, my answer is the data should be managed or preserved by the law enforcement agencies, those held according to law to be accountable to the people in data protection. This criminal code of Canada states that there should be a kind of transparency system. So if a government goes to the courts to get authorization to conduct digital surveillance, there should be a body that is accountable to the government, and the government should make a report of persons that they have brought permissions, that they came to seek for permissions to get to conduct digital surveillance. And also in France, actually, there are two ways that this data can be preserved or checkmate to make sure that they are not using it for any malicious purposes. Two stages, the legislative and the executive. So they checkmate each other. So my answer is should be a transparency body, like a communication, a flow between this body and that body to checkmate each other, a kind of check and balances, so that this one does not overuse its powers and this one does not go outside the limits of what is provided. Of course, you know that in every country that conduct digital surveillance, they are warned by relevant statutory operations that there is a time to conduct that data. For example, if you have a data for today, you should delete it for about 6 months. In some countries, it is a year. So there are actually laws that preserve the data of citizens, and actually institutional bodies that do the same work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Grace and Goska. So that brings us to the end of questions from audience. Thank you so much for your questions. I hope you got the answer to your question. Moving on, we are going to hear from them. They are going to give us the conclusion each. Then after the conclusion, we'll just hear from the judges, so they let us know what they feel about the debate and how each contestant performed. Though we're not getting the score immediately, the score will be reviewed after the entire debate for the day. So after the French category, then we'll review the score and the winner for this debate. So for the conclusion, we are going to have Grace take her conclusion first. Then after Grace, we have Goska. Each debater has 4 minutes for their conclusion. So Grace, are you ready for your conclusion? Okay. You can start now.
Standing on existing protocol, President Barack Obama justified the use of digital surveillance because it averted over 50 terrorist attacks on the US state in 2013. It may seem as though my opponent views state digital surveillance as a kind of technological hard drugs. But unlike hard drugs, digital surveillance is actually beneficial to the individual and community. I have brought arguments in propositions that state digital surveillance can be harnessed to sustain and maximize national security. However, there are two challenges that I'm aware that affect the development or for digital surveillance to reach its full potential. One, the unnecessary and unfounded fear of loss of privacy. A survey data of 1,400 Canadians state that citizens are merely worried that governments were taking their data, and not because they do not trust the government to respect their privacy. The second challenge is privacy laws. Did my honorable judges and distinguished audience know that 2 of the terrorists involved in the 9/11 were actually in the US states, but they could not be profiled because of restrictive privacy laws? I have also brought argument that states use digital surveillance to combat and detain and contain and manage disease outbreak. For example, during the COVID-19 era, an app called the contact tracing app was used. So if a person is infected by the virus, the people that have come in contact with him will be identified and told to isolate. In that way, the chain of causation of the virus is broken. I have also conclusively brought argument that the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, holds it over every government to prioritize the interests, the welfare, and the safety of the citizens, which some countries are actually achieving with the aid of state digital surveillance. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, privacy is nice to have. Public security is essential. And to contend otherwise is nothing but an argument in bad faith. Let me conclude of reminding us of the principle or the idea, the African idea, Ubuntu. Ubuntu that prioritizes, that says that you can be yourself, however, through others. Ubuntu that prioritizes and emphasizes the philosophy of oneness, of togetherness, not the individual. The spirit of Ubuntu. I am what I am because of who we all are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grace. So that was the conclusion from Grace. And next we are going to take conclusion from Goska. Hello, Goska. You ready for your conclusion?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Goska.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so you can start now.
In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, today's technology has enabled a more pervasive surveillance that has undoubtedly established an inhumane state that is willing to scrap off any information at any cost, at the cost of our privacy, which embodies our self-respect. Ladies and gentlemen, it promotes discrimination, abuses data, causes ultimate devouring power, and inequality to access public services. The false hope of giving us a fair trade of safety is indeed propagandized. What safety when the FBI itself searches through our information and leaves our data vulnerable to hackers? We are living in a pretentious, happy nation where everybody's actually controlled by digital surveillance. This beast called digital surveillance is so dire that it can stop at nothing. It seizes our privacy and it goes ahead to label us, to discriminate people of color, and to violate our human rights. Would you want to be safe if you're being discriminated? Where is there safety where there's discrimination? When you are being wrongfully accused by faulty AI systems just because you are Black, where is the security? Ladies and gentlemen, digital surveillance results in more crime. There is no way digital surveillance can say it prevents crime while it is leading to more crime by putting things out there such as not detecting appropriate measures, like not detecting terrorists as they should, because surveillance cameras are not effective. After 20 minutes of watching cameras, people get diverted from it. Digital surveillance has created nothing but an alienation between state and society. The state has so much power that the society has no choice but to go against laws made by digital surveillance, to break those laws. At the end, they end up being jailed, like the journalists in China, like journalists around other parts of the world. Our rights to privacy, which extend to other rights, are being violated, ladies and gentlemen. Anything you post on the internet can get you arrested, can get the internet banned, or your background check run on your social media. In some countries, for certain jobs, you get a social media check to check what you have been doing. And some people have been doing things like drugs, LSD, and for those reasons, they're not given certain jobs just because digital surveillance went and took something that they did when they were 14. How reasonable is that? This is control, ladies and gentlemen, and more especially, it is post-traumatic stress disorder for the Black race, who have since the beginning of time been oppressed. These flaws in digital surveillance are mainly just targeting Black people. People may argue that there are laws in place to protect our privacy in all spaces, but where exactly are these laws? I keep asking, where are these laws when our data is being breached? When 6.2 million lives are at stake just in the twinkle of an eye, where is the privacy? Where are the digital laws? Are these laws only going to come into play to punish the offenders? Ladies and gentlemen, digital surveillance has become more of an enemy than a friend. Let us be against digital surveillance, ladies and gentlemen. If we do not want to live in a world where a silly joke or a serious opinion instills fear in everybody and silences expression while devouring our privacy, we must change and oppress the paradigm and practice of digital surveillance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So that brings us to the end of the debate, but not the end because we need to hear from our judges. So we need to hear from you, comments from the judges. So we're going to hear from Boye, from Pete, and from Charles, though they're not reviewing the score yet. So who goes first? Ladies first. So we have, okay, you want to go first? Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Angela. Well done, Grace, and Goska, you did a great job trying to put forward your arguments. My comments, Grace, you started very strongly. In fact, when you started, I was worried because obviously you know where my bias should be, and I was like, okay, Grace is not about to make a mess of everything we work for every day and all of that. So you started quite very strongly, But at some point, it looked as though you were beginning to, the energy with which you started was dropping at some point, and I understand that because you have to, you have to think on your feet and all of that. Then on the other hand, Goska started not very strong, and I was worried, also because of where my bias is. But I think Goska grew into the argument, and and our passion was very, very obvious. But overall, both of them were fantastic presenters. They did a great job. One thing I noticed though, you all relied on a lot of examples. You quoted examples from literally everywhere in the world. But I was surprised that you didn't quote examples from the work of Steve. So that should have been a given. Like that should have been like your cheat code. Especially for Goska was arguing against digital surveillance. I was expecting that you would, refer to Londa and some of the examples of, the bad examples of digital surveillance. There are so many of them there, and I'm like, why didn't you check? But overall, I think you both did a great job. It shows that you really read for it. You really looked for examples, and I have nothing but respect for both of you. Thank you very much for the industry.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Grace. Can you smile? Yes. And Goska, thank you very much. I think you did a very great job. I'm a champion of girls, and seeing girls do this kind of thing is something that that gives me really, that makes me shine. And I think you both did a lot in doing your research, and you were so grounded. Every time each of you spoke, and I was thinking and wondering what the other would say. And at one point I was wondering, did they share notes? Did they all know that this person would say this, and then they prepared earlier? But I think overall you all did great research and understood what you were talking about. I think definitely supporting digital surveillance is not such an easy thing, right? But you stood so tough on it, and I think that was very good of you. I think I would have also expected, probably similar to what Boya said, that I should have expected more example back home, talking about, digital surveillance in Africa, giving more examples here. It's not bad that you gave those examples, but I think giving examples that we can relate to would have also been, more of them would have been something good. But I want to just give general comment that you both did great, and I want to tell you that whatever results that we will have at the end, you are go-getters, you are girls that are champions. You can go anywhere you want to go in the world. Thank you very much.
Wow, I want to suggest that this be turned into a digital academy, urban digital debate this evening, because this is really an academy. You have taken us through a lot, and I think all of us here, I should believe we were students in this discussion, and I'm really excited to be one of your students on this subject matter, because of the depth of knowledge that you have demonstrated, the incredible research that has been demonstrated that you have done, both of you. I couldn't even imagine how much time you really invested in this. This, like every point was supported with evidence, largely. How I wish probably this should translate into a publication. The clarity, the confidence, the demonstration of knowledge was really amazing. We enjoyed every moment of your presentation. That's to also support my colleagues in terms of the examples which they've highlighted. I would also have expected maybe quoting more authorities, from the African continent. I know that we may not have years, but I know again that there is emerging, research in the digital space within the African continent. So maybe also looking at authorities within the African continent, apart from the example being done different. My brother mentioned of PIN. I think there are a number of institutions that are also, doing a lot in this area. We are not there yet, but I think that could bring us much more home, other than very far global north or China. Otherwise, this is amazing. I'm really excited and wishing you all the best. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to judges. Thank you so much for accepting to do this for us. And we really appreciate you. And to the debaters, well done. Thank you. They really did very well. Please, let's clap. So they really did very well. That was a tricky topic, but they did justice to it. They did justice to it. So thank you so much. And thank you to the audience. Thank you for being so engaging and for the questions. So thank you. With that, we have come to the end of the English category. The scores will not be reviewed yet. We're going to go for a short break. Then after that, we are going to have the French category. So with that, I want to say thank you so much. And as I hand over to the MC of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for all the speakers for today. You could all sense the fire, the passion, isn't it? The vigor. And I think from everything that they presented, we could also see that they had taken their time to do their research and everything. Confirm? At one point in time, I actually thought maybe you guys were in bed together. You shared notes and everything, and then came and did a dummy in front of us. But I lacked the flow. I think we learned a lot. Thank you so much for that. I think if we were to do a bet, who would you bet for? I want to see the lucky ones. Is it because she's here? You don't want to disappoint her? Say, who would you vote for?
Because I love Rumba, I think maybe that from DRC.
DRC is on one. So right now we've got 1-1. Now we want to see, the cast, the winning vote. Who would you vote for?
Goska.
Goska. Okay, so guys, officially I'm not the judge, so I'm not here to announce the results. But from this, Goska is the winner, isn't it? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, like it has been stated, we're going to take a break shortly. There's some music that's going to be played. It's only going to be for 10 minutes. Then we are back for the French session. The tea is ready. I'm told there's some tea which is ready. He's going to guide us in terms of where we are taking the tea. Then soon after tea, we are back for the French session. So let's not take more than 15 minutes. Please bring out your devices, put an alarm for 15 minutes. Let's be back in 15 minutes time. That's 6:15, so that we can round up this exciting activity. Thank you so much.
Mais pourquoi tout l'amour que je déverse ne m'est point rendu? Docteur Gondia Patrick, et qui a connu Wamene, il est bon mec.
sneeze, you miss. That's what we used to say. Remember.
Live streaming. Sorry, live streaming is they do the like, of course, I was looking like in case to stop the transfer. So the live stream is still continuous. I will set the timer. My system went off. Now I don't know if this photo is in.
No, nobody's joining online. We just have audience online. We just have audience. Yeah, so you can just live. We don't need to project it. Our audience are online. Nobody's joining online. So when you stream, they can. Whose screen are they seeing? Okay, but the people online will see the screen. Okay, so we don't even need the projector. We don't need the projectors. Since people online can see. Just make that this fine. Okay, we see what's going on. Okay, we need to see the timer. We need to see the timer. Yeah, let's go ahead. Okay. Projector.
The next hour on our agenda. I think after the first part of the debate, you are all eager and ready to see what's in store now for the French session, isn't it? I can see the participants are ready. Right now it's interesting. I've got a lady and a gentleman. I'm not sure who's going to win, but they all look confident and ready. Okay, I wish you all the best. Okay. Interesting is I speak English. I'm very who speak English, French. Anyone? Then 1 or 2 words. Bonjour. Okay, it's my. Words that easier with common words. Okay, cool. My brothers, what would you want to learn in French? Just one word.
Just one way. One. C'est pour toi? Just one way. Interesting. I think I think we'll meet the whole night. We'll meet to but the good part is we are here, so we'll make you here. So, hopefully, our program will get you for our moderator for the free speaking session. I think this is the guy who speaks more languages, which is for all those who speak English only, we've got some translation devices of this guest, which you can make use of. So if you need one, just get one. English is on chapter number 8, being introduction number 1. So you use those in order to make it affordable to proceed to this session. So if you need one, just grab one of the translation devices which are on the tables so that at least you'll be able to follow. With that now, since we are running behind time, I'm going to call upon our moderator, Glory, to take the stage. He's going to take us through the rules, the regulations, introduce the speakers for today, and make sure that things flow as you did with the English session. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Glory.
Bonsoir à tous, bonsoir tout le monde. J'espère que tout le monde est bon bien. Voilà, can the English speaker as well be able to get one or two things? Good evening to you all. Yes, okay. I think I'll just give it a minute. Okay. Bonsoir tout le monde. Wow, it's cold here. Bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening to you all. Definitely. All right. So, without taking much of our time, j'espère que nous connaissons la raison pour laquelle nous sommes ici. C'est pour le deuxième partie de notre débat. La question qui est posée, c'est la surveillance numérique de l'État devrait-elle primer sur la vie privée? Yes. J'espère que les speakers, are you able to get? Okay. Mr. Interpreter, please, can you sort out so that we are on the same page before we embark upon our journey? Now you can hear? Okay. Is that okay? Is everyone on the phone call? Okay, someone, I asked for Angelique to help them to, to turn it on so that we can start. Tell me once you are there. Do you mind increasing the volume, sir? Pardon? Is that okay? Okay, good. So, without waste, okay, sans pour autant plus tarder, je vais devoir introduire le juge en premier et après cela, je vais devoir donner les règles de jeu sur comment nous allons procéder. Alors, permettez-moi que je puisse ouvrir mon micro. Oui, je pense que la question a été claire pour tout le monde. Okay, so I'll be pausing a little bit so that you can be able to get in, right? Is that okay? That's okay. Sharp? Good. All right, so je vais donner un peu le résumé sur la compétition. En fait, c'est sur l'organisation appelée Paradigm. Donc, l'initiative de Paradigm a obtenu 15 années d'existence. Donc, le but de cette organisation ou cette plateforme, c'est de pouvoir connecter les jeunes gens et leur donner les opportunités donner les opportunités. Par exemple, sur la protection des droits Ok, je peux. Ok. Okay, okay. So what I'll do, I'll be pausing and then I let him speak. Sir, is that okay? Good. So yeah, let's move on since we all know. So I will further jump to the yes to the judge. I mean the judge. Je veux introduire les juges. Alors je serai un peu brief. I will be brief in introducing you since it was done already. Alors notre premier juge, il s'appelle Peace Oliver Amuge. C'est ça? Yeah. Okay. I should just. Mhm. Okay. Actually. Ok, merci beaucoup. Alors, le premier, ou je pense la première, c'est Aïcha Tiendale Fall. Est-ce qu'elle peut au moins lever sa main? Yes. Alors, elle est là, la voici. Pour quelques biographies, si je dois donner, Aïcha, elle est notre officier du côté francophone. Elle est de Western Part. Elle tient un diplôme en politique, en sciences politiques et en sciences politiques des mineurs internationales. J'ai pensé ça à l'université du Libéry. Hein? Ok, ça va. Le deuxième, c'est Arsène Tougali. Alors, et le troisième juge, c'est Tazana Derixio. Merci. Et je vais aussi devoir sauter pour présenter nos candidats. Alors, nos candidats francophones sont... Le premier, c'est... permettez. Je vais voir. Okay. Juste un moment avant de passer. Ok. Le premier candidat, il est nommé au nom de... ok, c'est Damas Donald Anona. Damas Onanda. Okay. Est-ce qu'on peut applaudir pour lui avant? Merci. La deuxième, c'est une candidate. Comme on peut voir, elle répond au nom de... Permettez-moi pour le nom. Fedila Mudachuru. Fedila Mudachuru, ok? Can you please, on peut applaudir pour elle. Elle vient du Bénin et notre confrère vient du Cameroun. Donc, ce sont les deux candidats qui vont devoir s'affronter ce soir. Et comme on le sait bien, la question, c'est la surveillance numérique de l'État devrait-elle primer sur la vie privée? Donc, c'est ça. Alors, parlons du règle de jeu. Parlons du règle de jeu. Comme nous le savons, la première partie, toi tu es pour le positif, elle est pour le négatif sur cette même question. Alors, comme nous allons partir sur le discours, Damasa va devoir commencer pour 5 minutes. Après Damasa, ça serait Fadila, elle va partir pour 5 minutes aussi. Après ça, je reviendrai pour vous dire la suite. Je pense que c'est un peu ça, un peu cela. Est-ce que, Damasa, tu es prêt? Dis-nous dès que tu es prêt. Est-ce qu'il y a un autre micro? Is there any other microphone that you can use? Okay, this one? Or that one? Ok, yeah, the time le temps est là. Donc, fais-nous signe dès que tu es prêt. Tu es prêt? Ok, vas-y.
Distingués invités, mesdames et messieurs, honorables membres du bureau d'emploi, je me nomme Lamar Donald Onana, je suis étudiant en matière informatique. Bon, si nous sommes là ce soir, est-ce que la surveillance numérique de l'État devrait être tenue sur la vie privée des citoyens? Donc, j'ai pour objectif aujourd'hui de vous prouver que cela ne devrait pas être une question, mais plutôt une affirmation.
En vous donnant des preuves et des arguments. Et donc, pour comprendre le sujet et bien pouvoir l'analyser, commençons par donner la définition des mots et expressions clés. Et donc, qu'est-ce qu'on entend par vie privée? Selon le dictionnaire Larousse, la vie privée est tout ce qui est personnel à un humain, tout ce qui peut accéder facilement, uniquement et de façon directe, mais indirectement au public. Et donc, la vie privée est synonyme de vie intime, de vie personnelle, contrairement à ce qu'on pourrait appeler de vie professionnelle ou de vie publique. Comme exemple d'informations pouvant être jugées privées, on peut citer l'appartenance religieuse, le nom, le prénom et parfois aussi l'âge. Et donc, passons maintenant à la définition de surveillance. Qu'est-ce qu'on appelle surveillance? La surveillance vient du verbe surveiller, c'est-à-dire observer. C'est donc généralement l'acte qui permet d'observer des gestes humains. Les sociologues et les spécialistes de la surveillance définissent la surveillance comme un processus de traitement, de collecte d'informations personnelles de personnes dans le but de pouvoir mieux gérer et influencer ces personnes-là. Au terme surveillance, on peut associer différents critères, mais y avoir des termes comme contre-surveillance, surveillance inverse, épidémiosurveillance ou cybersurveillance, encore plus connu sous le nom de surveillance numérique. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on entend par surveillance numérique? La surveillance numérique, c'est juste un mécanisme de surveillance basé sur les nouvelles technologies de l'information et de la communication TIC. Il a les mêmes objectifs que la surveillance, c'est-à-dire collecter et traiter les données des personnels, des humains pour pouvoir mieux les manager. Et donc, sur la base de cette définition et de cette introduction, je vais tout au long de ma narration essayer de vous prouver que oui, la surveillance numérique devrait effectivement primer sur certaines données de la vie personnelle, même professionnelle ou publique. Et donc, pour essayer de vous convaincre, je vais partir sur 3 axes. D'abord, je vais essayer de citer les bienfaits de la surveillance numérique. Ensuite, je vais essayer de montrer que nous avons tous fait le choix de façon consciente ou inconsciente à un moment donné d'être surveillés. Et ensuite, je vais finir sur le fait que nous devons changer nos regards par rapport à la surveillance, regarder la surveillance sur un angle différent. Et donc, merci beaucoup de m'avoir écouté. Merci à vous, honorables membres du jury, de m'avoir passé la parole. Merci.
Merci, cher candidat. C'est bien présenté, votre introduction. Allons donner à notre candidate, elle est du côté négatif. Alors, pour elle, ça sera aussi son introduction. Après cela, nous allons maintenant passer au point de argument. Alors, madame.
Merci de me passer la parole. Je suis Fadilat Mounachirou, étudiante béninoise en informatique de gestion. J'ai 21 ans. J'ai beaucoup de choses à dire, mais avant de commencer, permettez-moi de respecter les salutations d'usage. Chers membres du jury, chers conférenciers, chers académiciens et chers publics, bonsoir. Internet n'était à sa création qu'un petit réseau où l'on pouvait juste échanger les données. Aujourd'hui, il est bien plus. Il permet aux entreprises de vendre. Il permet aux étudiants d'apprendre un peu plus sur le monde qui les entoure. il permet aux familles éloignées de communiquer. Et le plus important dans le processus de surveillance mis en place par les États, il leur permet de surveiller les moindres faits et gestes des repris de justice. Cette nouvelle dimension de la surveillance qu'offre Internet a créé de nombreuses protestations dont le précurseur est l'ancien employé de la CIA et célèbre lanceur d'alerte Edward Snowden. Suite à sa révolte, plusieurs personnes ont suivi ses pas et réclament le respect de leur droit à une vie privée, ce que la surveillance numérique les empêche d'avoir. Donc, avant de rentrer dans ce débat très intéressant qui met en évidence le bien fondé de la surveillance numérique et la légitimité de l'homme à avoir une vie privée, permettez-moi de dissiper tout point d'ombre en définissant les mots-clés de ce sujet. J'entends par surveillance numérique l'action qui consiste à intercepter ou collecter, à analyser et à utiliser, si besoin, toute information liée à la personne et sur Internet, ça veut dire à l'internaute. Cette surveillance se fait dans la plupart des cas sans le consentement de la personne concernée. Et les moyens de surveillance utilisés sont la biométrie, la géolocalisation, les puces RFID, les vidéosurveillance et j'en passe. Ensuite, j'entends par vie privée de la personne humaine la sphère d'intimité de cette personne, l'espace où elle s'isole afin de protéger son bien-être. Elle comprend notamment sa voix, sa relation fondamentale et toute autre donnée personnelle qu'elle n'aimerait pas avoir divulguée. Donc, se demander si la surveillance numérique devrait primer sur la vie privée de la personne humaine reviendrait à faire une comparaison entre les deux. Ça reviendrait à se demander surveillance numérique et vie privée, qu'est-ce qui est plus essentiel pour la personne humaine? Pour ma part, je soutiens que la vie privée dans le quotidien des gens est plus essentielle que la surveillance numérique. Et afin de développer ma thèse, je vous montrerai tous les risques, l'essentiel des risques que nous encourons à accepter la surveillance numérique qui piétine notre vie privée. Merci.
Merci pour la présentation et l'introduction. Alors, nous allons passer à la présentation de points et je disais. Alors, le premier candidat serait Monsieur Damas Donaux. 5 pour ceci, la présentation.
Donc, je vais commencer avec l'argument sur le fait que, sur les bienfaits de la surveillance numérique. Alors, autrefois, les États et les gouvernements lançaient de la surveillance sur des individus lorsqu'on avait seulement des crimes. Imaginons un peu soit-on que ce crime-là soit des meurtres. Donc, il fallait attendre qu'il y ait un meurtre pour pouvoir surveiller quelqu'un. Il fallait attendre qu'il y ait des pleurs, il fallait attendre qu'il y ait un deuil. Alors, pourquoi attendre qu'il y ait un deuil alors que on pourrait empêcher cela? C'est cela que la stratégie a été changée. Nous sommes plutôt passés maintenant de la prévention à la réaction. C'est-à-dire que maintenant, on va surveiller les critères pour mettre quelqu'un en surveillance sont maintenant diminués. Cela permettrait que on puisse sauver des vies, et empêcher des parents, des enfants et nos frères d'être en deuil. Prenons l'exemple de cette stratégie sur le terrorisme. En 2005, une commission de terrorisme aux États-Unis a rendu un rapport. Dans ce rapport, il était dit que pour pouvoir bien lutter contre le terrorisme, il va falloir étudier et surveiller chaque personne suspectée suspecté d'être un terroriste ou alors suspecté d'être en contact avec un terroriste. Alors, dans ce rapport, comment se passe cette surveillance? Cette surveillance se passe en capturant des données biométriques de chaque personne arrivant dans les aéroports et des gares. Cette stratégie a porté ses fruits car depuis 2005, les actes de terrorisme aux États-Unis, c'est vrai, n'ont pas totalement disparu, mais ont forcément diminué. Passons au second point qui est notre état d'esprit face à la surveillance numérique. Laissez-moi vous lire un extrait de l'accord de confidentialité de Facebook. Donc, dans cet accord, il y a une phrase qui dit « Nous, Facebook, nous communiquerons des données personnelles que lorsque elles seront requises pour traiter un paiement ou pour nous conformer à des exigences juridiques, dans le cadre, par exemple, d'une assignation d'une communication importante. » Je crois que tout le monde ici a un compte Facebook, mais combien de nous avons lu la totalité de cet accord de confidentialité? Moi, c'est la première fois en préparant ce débat que j'ai lu cet accord, mais à chaque fois, chacun de nous appuie sur « oui, j'accepte ». Donc, sur la base de cette phrase, nous avons tous accepté que Facebook contrôle nos données et que de temps en temps, ces données-là soient transmises à l'État. Donc, pourquoi aujourd'hui, nous revenons en arrière? Donc, nous devons juste être prudents ou alors ne plus utiliser Facebook. Je crois que c'est presque impossible. Donc, nous devons faire avec et espérer juste que l'État utilise bien ces données-là pour de bonnes choses. Je vais finir avec la surveillance numérique, non pas comme juste de la surveillance, mais comme un outil venant faciliter notre vie. Et donc, comme je le disais, Facebook utilise nos données. Il n'y a pas que Facebook, il y a dans plusieurs autres sites, sur nos smartphones, sur nos iPhones. On utilise nos données pour nous faciliter la vie. À chaque fois, parfois, quand on lance un texte, est-ce que nous sommes en train de saisir, il y a des propositions de texte. Ces propositions de texte ne sont pas faites au hasard. Ce sont des données qui ont été auparavant collectées et qui, on utilise ces données-là pour nous faire des propositions de texte. Un autre exemple, c'est que les parents, très souvent, mettent sur surveillance leurs enfants pour qu'ils n'aient pas accès à des contenus illicites. Les entreprises utilisent très souvent des données sur leurs employés pour agrandir leur chiffre d'affaires. C'est la même chose que l'État utilise les données sur nous, les citoyens, pour nous mettre en sécurité, pour que nous soyons bien dans nos différents pays. Donc voilà un peu mes arguments qui prouvent que la surveillance numérique devrait effectivement primer sur les données privées, professionnelles. Merci beaucoup de m'avoir écouté.
Merci, cher présentateur. Alors, nous allons passer à la deuxième personne qui va devoir présenter ses points et arguments. Alors, ceci sera du côté négatif. Comme nous le savons, la première personne, ou soit le premier présentateur, il est fait du côté affirmatif. Alors, vous avez le micro.
Merci de me repasser la parole. Comme dit un peu plus tôt, je vais m'appesantir sur quelques risques que nous encourons à laisser la surveillance numérique piétiner notre vie privée. Tout d'abord, sachez que la vie privée permet à la personne d'apprendre un peu plus sur son être afin de développer des relations saines avec sa famille et son entourage. Elle garantit non seulement une sécurité physique, mais aussi émotionnelle. Alors, dire qu'on doit pratiquer la surveillance numérique dont le but premier est la sécurité de la personne en piétinant la vie privée n'a plus aucun sens. Pourquoi? Parce que tous autant que nous sommes ici, nous avons un rôle à jouer dans le maintien de la paix et de la sécurité de notre pays. Et il devient impossible d'assumer ce devoir civil si nous-mêmes, nous ne nous sentons pas en sécurité intérieurement. En poussant la réflexion un peu plus loin, on se rend compte qu'il n'y a pas que la sécurité intérieure qui est menacée, mais aussi la sécurité de notre identité personnelle. Nous tous ici, je suis sûre que nous sommes déjà passés par un hôtel dans une de nos capitales. Et dans les hôtels, il est courant qu'on nous demande notre pièce d'identité ou bien notre carte bancaire pour payer. Et ces cartes contiennent des informations qui sont à la fois publiques mais qui peuvent être privées. Dans le cas du COVID-19, de la pandémie, ces informations ont permis, certes, de mettre à l'abri plusieurs personnes, mais derrière cela, ces informations peuvent permettre d'usurper l'identité de la personne humaine. Et nos rues sont remplies de personnes qui se sont déjà vues usurper leur identité. Et en plus de ça, ils se sont vus se faire dépouiller de leur avoir en banque. Donc, avec ce risque majeur, il nous est impossible de laisser cet aspect de notre vie-là, qu'est la protection de la vie privée. Maintenant, passons au libre choix que nous enlève en partie la surveillance numérique. La surveillance numérique débouche sur la rétention de données. Et la rétention de données, c'est un régime qui force les fournisseurs d'accès à Internet à conserver nos métadonnées. Une métadonnée, c'est l'enveloppe du message, c'est-à-dire la date, le lieu de transmission, le destinataire, tout ce qui permet de retracer le message. Alors, ces métadonnées-là donnent des informations très précises sur la personne. En prenant un exemple, si vous contactez un tel médecin au lieu d'un autre, on pourra avoir des informations très précises sur votre état de santé. Or, il est tout à fait légitime qu'on ne veuille pas partager ces données-là. Donc, la surveillance numérique nous enlève ce libre arbitre-là. Donc, imaginez quelqu'un qui a peur de se voir usurper son identité, quelqu'un qui n'a plus le choix de prendre ses décisions lui-même, quelqu'un qui a peur même dans sa propre maison. Cette personne-là, je pense qu'il ne vit plus. Et sans la personne humaine, il ne peut pas avoir d'État, il ne peut pas avoir de surveillance numérique. Pour finir, c'est vrai qu'on nous a vanté les mérites de la surveillance numérique, mais si je conçois que la surveillance numérique doit primer sur la vie privée, c'est que je dis que l'homme n'a pas besoin de liberté et que l'homme n'est qu'un animal qu'on doit tenir en laisse. Edward Snowden nous dit dans son livre Mémoire vif, prétendre que votre droit à une vie privée n'a pas d'importance parce que vous n'avez rien à cacher n'est rien d'autre que de dire que la liberté d'expression n'est pas essentielle parce que vous n'avez rien à dire. Alors, je veux que nous comprenions que nous avons tout autant besoin de notre liberté, de notre vie privée, comme nous avons besoin de nos pieds pour marcher. Merci beaucoup.
Chère présentatrice, ça commence à devenir chaud, comme vous comptez. Alors, là, c'est le deuxième tour. Nous passons au deuxième tour. Et le deuxième tour, comme nous savons, c'est la première réfutation. Alors, la première personne qui va devoir débattre, c'est Mademoiselle Fadila. 3 minutes pour ceci.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur Donald a dit dans son argumentation que nous devons changer d'esprit et d'état d'esprit par rapport à la surveillance numérique. Mais je ne sais pas comment nous pouvons changer cet état d'esprit si nous ne sommes pas au courant de ce qui se passe. L'État nous dit, c'est vrai que la surveillance numérique, c'est pour votre bien, mais on ne nous explique pas tout ce qu'il y a derrière. Et nous avons peur parce que le numérique évolue à une vitesse exponentielle. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes à un point A, demain, nous serons à un point Z, peut-être après-demain, on ne sait pas là où on sera. Donc, le fait de ne pas savoir où nous allons pose un véritable problème qui nous empêche de vouloir laisser cette partie de liberté qui nous est par rapport à la surveillance numérique, même si elle a des bienfaits. Ensuite, j'aimerais demander à M. Donald, d'après lui, quel est le but de la surveillance numérique? Parce que pour moi, la surveillance numérique permet d'abord de protéger la personne. Et dans son argumentation, je n'ai pas senti qu'il nous a donné les raisons pour lesquelles il dit que la surveillance numérique doit primer sur la vie privée. Donc, merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, mademoiselle. Alors, la deuxième Donc, nous sommes le deuxième intervenant serait notre candidat. Voici le micro. Je pense qu'il peut s'asseoir aussi. Vous le permettez? OK. Vous avez 4 minutes pour ceci. Après 4 minutes...
Donc, tout à l'heure, quand mon amie Fazilat était en train d'exposer, elle a soutenu le fait que la surveillance ne doit pas primer parce que les gens ont nos données privées, le gouvernement a nos données privées, c'est-à-dire elle a écrit comme le nom, les cartes bancaires, tout ça. Mais je voudrais lui dire que avoir ces données-là, ces données privées-là, n'importe qui peut les avoir. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes au 21e siècle, nous sommes en 2022. Avoir ton nom, avoir ton numéro, avoir ta carte bancaire, c'est totalement facile. N'importe qui peut l'avoir. Donc, autant mieux laisser l'État avoir ça et bien l'utiliser pour qu'on soit en sécurité. Et elle a après dit que nous n'avons pas le choix, que l'État nous force à être surveillés, que l'État nous force à donner nos données. Mais si nous avons le choix de ne pas aller sur Facebook. Nous avons le choix de ne pas utiliser Internet. Déjà, pour petit rappel, les étudiants en sécurité de ma faculté adorent dire une phrase. Tout ce qui est sur Internet est public. Il n'y a rien de privé sur Internet. Donc, si quelqu'un veut cacher quelque chose sur Internet, ça ne va pas marcher. Donc, nous avons le choix de ne pas aller sur Internet. Nous avons le choix de ne pas aller sur Facebook. Mais à quel prix? Si nous allons, sachant que nous allons donner quelquefois certaines données sur nous pour pouvoir améliorer notre vie. Et après, elle a soutenu, bon, elle a parlé des hôtels, des voyages, qu'on nous demande que de données et qu'elle ne voit pas à quoi ça sert, tout ça. Bon, je vais prendre un petit exemple sur moi. En venant ici, disons que j'ai eu des tracasseries de voyage, il y a eu un peu de retard, je n'ai pas pu prévenir ma famille et ma maman était inquiète et tout ça. Et donc au Cameroun, tout le monde était inquiet. On a appelé, j'ai laissé des numéros de paradis administratifs, on a appelé partout, tout le monde était inquiet. Et donc ce que ma famille a fait, c'est qu'ils ont contacté l'aéroport, un sergent à l'aéroport, ils ont demandé qu'est-ce qui se passe. Et hier, on m'a raconté, j'étais surpris. Ma sœur au Cameroun, c'est exactement, bon, c'est ce qui a rassuré ma mère, c'est exactement tout ce que j'ai fait en quittant le Cameroun. C'est-à-dire, quelle était l'heure de mon avion, à quel hôtel j'ai logé, quelle était l'heure de l'atterrissage, et qu'on a confirmé à ma mère que effectivement j'ai atterri à Harare, elle a été adoucie. Donc voilà un peu à quoi la surveillance peut servir. La surveillance n'est pas que négative. La surveillance a réussi à rassurer ma mère. Et donc après, tu m'as demandé quel est le but de la surveillance numérique, quel État ne nous dit pas la vérité. Ah ben c'est facile, c'est très clair. L'État utilise nos données pour nous garantir d'être en sécurité, pour nous garantir d'être bien dans notre pays, pour nous garantir d'être tranquille. Et il n'y a pas que l'État qui utilise même nos données, il y a des entreprises, des réseaux sociaux. Donc, en fait, c'est un peu ça.
Merci beaucoup, cher présentateur. Il y a à boire et à manger, je pense. Il y a à boire et à manger, ça commence à devenir chaud. Alors, nous allons à la deuxième réfutation. Et la deuxième réfutation, ça prendra 4 minutes par personne, par présentateur. Alors, nous allons commencer avec la demoiselle. Elle se penche beaucoup sur les côtés négatifs. Alors, mademoiselle, vous avez 4 minutes. Faites-nous signe dès que vous êtes prête. Le chrono commence à s'écouler. Voilà.
Alors, Monsieur Donald a souligné que tout le monde peut avoir accès à des informations personnelles. Tout le monde ne peut pas avoir accès à toutes les informations personnelles. Les informations comme notre signature, tout le monde ne peut pas avoir accès à ça. Et quand on a la signature de quelqu'un et qu'on a son compte bancaire, il est facile d'usurper son identité pour aller vider son compte. Donc, le fait que nous scannons nos cartes dans les hôtels nous laisse une trace de notre passage et de nos informations. Donc, facilement, comme ça, quelqu'un peut imiter ta signature et aller vider ton compte en banque. Après, il a souligné que nous avons tout à fait le choix parce que nous cochons la case « J'ai le choix de Facebook ». Facebook, ce n'est pas l'État. Facebook est une entreprise privée. Et certes, l'État demande des informations aux entreprises privées, mais les autres informations que les entreprises privées gardent pour eux, qu'est-ce qu'ils en font? On n'en sait rien. Et il a ensuite parlé il a ensuite souligné que je ne savais pas à quoi servait la surveillance numérique. Dans mon discours de tout à l'heure, j'ai bien dit que pendant le Covid, la surveillance numérique a bel et bien permis de protéger des gens. Simplement que derrière cela, nous encourons plusieurs risques à partager nos informations personnelles, ceux qui touchent réellement à notre vie privée. Donc, c'est juste ça. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, chère présentatrice. Certainement, il y a à se tirer les draps ici. Hein. Il y a de quoi passer ce temps, passer cette soirée ensemble. Alors, vous avez la parole. 4 minutes pour votre défense. Deuxième présentation. Merci. Faites signe dès que vous êtes prêt en tant que...
Donc, tout à l'heure, Fazila t'a cité quelques informations personnelles que tout le monde ne peut pas avoir. Fazila, je ne sais pas, je suis sûr que tu n'es pas à cœur ou bien un truc comme ça. Tu as cité des trucs que toi, tu ne pouvais pas avoir. Mais pas qu'un Américain ou un Chinois assis en ce moment sur son PC. Okay. Donc, après, elle nous a demandé, elle nous a dit, en fait, Facebook, ce n'est pas l'État. Tout à l'heure, j'ai lu l'accord de confidentialité sur Facebook. Et donc, dans cet accord que tu as un compte Facebook, je suis sûr, tu as accepté. Dans cet accord, la phrase disait que Facebook a l'obligation de donner nos données à l'État à chaque fois qu'ils vont demander. Après, tu as dit que toutes nos données ne sont pas données à l'État, qu'il y a certaines entreprises qui gardent nos données, on ne sait pas ce qu'ils en font. C'est vrai, Facebook garde nos données. Et dans le même accord de confidentialité de Facebook, je l'ai lu entièrement pour préparer ce débat. Il a dit que, ils nous disent que oui, ils gardent nos données pour certaines fins commerciales. C'est-à-dire, tu ne sais pas ce qu'il faut avec, eh bien, ils nous proposent, en fait, ils essayent de calquer un autre nous. C'est-à-dire qu'ils fabriquent un autre nous pour savoir ce qu'on aime. C'est sûr que généralement, tu vas sur Facebook et tout ce que tu vois t'intéresse. Ce n'est pas de la magie. Ils utilisent tes données pour savoir ce qui t'intéresse. Ils utilisent des données pour les confier à certaines entreprises commerciales pour savoir quel article peut intéresser Fazilat. Ils utilisent des données pour te proposer des posts qui t'intéressent. Donc, c'est un peu ça que Facebook et les autres entreprises font avec nos données. Il n'y a pas que du mal. La surveillance numérique, il faut qu'on le comprenne. Ce n'est pas un outil qui est construit contre nous. C'est un outil qui est construit pour nous. Merci beaucoup.
Ok. Merci beaucoup, cher présentateur. Merci beaucoup de vouloir prendre votre temps et de nous faire ces exposés. Alors, sans pour autant plus tarder, nous allons passer à la conclusion de vos questions. Alors, nous allons commencer avec... Ok, Karslan Etienne, nous allons devoir demander au public juste 2 questions, si vous avez des questions. Je ne sais pas si c'est permis que nos anglophones aussi puissent intervenir. Okay, just I want to translate this. Okay. Alors, okay. For those that speak English, in the event that you were able to hear and you've got any question, you can please bring it up. Et pour le francophone, nous passons à la session de questions. S'il y a 2 questions, 2 questions. Il n'y a pas de questions. Ok, merci beaucoup. Alors nous allons passer à la conclusion. Et la conclusion, nous allons commencer avec notre demoiselle, celle qui débattait du côté négatif, et elle va devoir donner sa conclusion. Est-ce que faut avoir le micro? Okay. Alors, vous avez 4 minutes pour votre conclusion. Merci.
Mesdames et messieurs, chers membres du jury, merci de m'avoir écouté tout au long de ce débat. Il est clair que lorsque nous prenons la problématique de la surveillance numérique, nous prive de cette vie qui doit être la nôtre, nous prive de cette liberté-là que nous avons besoin pour pouvoir être épanouis. Mais lorsque nous prenons la problématique d'un point de vue général, elle permet d'assurer notre sécurité et de nous protéger d'éventuels dangers. Je me rappelle cette phrase de l'un des premiers présidents du monde libre, Benjamin Franklin, qui a alimenté mon point de vue, ma prise de position, s'il vous plaît. Il disait, un peuple prêt à sacrifier un peu de liberté pour un peu de sécurité ne mérite ni l'un ni l'autre et finit par perdre les deux. Alors, pour ne pas perdre nos libertés et notre sécurité, je demanderai à ce qu'on réfléchisse encore plus sur la question de la surveillance numérique. Et sachez qu'il n'est pas question d'empêcher l'État d'avoir accès aux informations qui lui permettraient d'assurer son rôle sur un continent. Mais il est question de concertation, d'implication, parce que tout se fait de façon paternaliste et on ne comprend plus rien à la fin. Donc, j'aimerais bien que l'État puisse prendre en considération l'avis de la population et nous associer dans la surveillance numérique. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Alors, le deuxième candidat va devoir aussi conclure de manière... Il peut, 4 minutes, s'il vous plaît.
Bon, nous arrivons au terme de notre débat où il était question de savoir si la surveillance numérique de l'État devrait primer sur notre vie privée. Et donc, tout au long de ma narration, j'ai soutenu la thèse que oui, effectivement, elle devrait primer sur notre vie privée. Pourquoi? Parce qu'en fait, la surveillance numérique, l'État utilise la surveillance numérique pour nous garantir une sécurité. Et après, j'ai argumenté en disant que la surveillance numérique, selon notre perception, est une arme construite pour nous. Pourtant, ce n'est pas le cas. C'est en fait un outil qui a été construit pour nous garantir, pour bien vivre. Ça aide à des entreprises, à l'État de nous garantir une bonne vie dans notre territoire. Et donc, si nous avons peur de la surveillance numérique, c'est peut-être parce que nous avons quelque chose à cacher. Alors, tout simplement, ne le cachons pas sur Internet, cachons-le ailleurs. Une fois, j'ai suivi dans un film que le meilleur système de sécurité, le système qu'on ne peut pas détourner, c'est en fait du papier et du bic. Donc, du coup, si j'ai des secrets, là, tu as des secrets, achète un carnet intime, écris tes secrets et planque dans un coffre. Du coup, tu ne pourras pas être piraté. Donc, n'ayons pas peur de la surveillance numérique. Ce n'est pas une arme construite contre nous, c'est un outil construit pour nous. J'aimerais aussi remercier Paradigme Initiative pour tout ce qu'il fait pour le numérique en Afrique. Avant cette série d'événements, je ne connaissais pas Paradigme Initiative. Aujourd'hui, je sais ce que Paradigme Initiative fait. Je sais le travail que Paradigme Initiative abat. Et bon, je ne sais pas si j'ai le droit de faire ça ou si ça a un impact, mais Au nom du Cameroun et de l'Afrique centrale, merci à Paradigme Initiative. Donc, et aussi, j'aimerais citer aussi, permettez-moi de citer quelques noms des agents de Paradigme Initiative qui vraiment, c'était pas facile. Nous venons presque des quatre coins de l'Afrique. Donc, on a eu Angela et Aïcha Fall qui ont géré de façon extraordinaire la logistique pour nous permettre d'être ici ce soir. Merci à ces deux dames. Et donc, merci aussi à vous, distingués invités, honorables membres du jury, d'avoir pris beaucoup de temps d'être là au jury et de nous avoir écoutés. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, merci bien, cher secrétaire. Une fois de plus, bonsoir, mesdames, mesdemoiselles et messieurs. C'est comme ça que notre soirée, ou soit notre deuxième présentation, vient de prendre fin. Alors, je vais demander à tout le monde de pouvoir se tenir debout et de pouvoir... Bon, ok. Comme je le disais, ne nous levons pas encore. Soyons encore assis. Alors, nous allons devoir... je vais devoir donner au juge de pouvoir faire quelques petits commentaires sur la présentation que nous avions eue ce soir. Donc, disons pratiquement quelques petites minutes. Alors, je ne sais pas lesquels parmi vous est prêt pour... Ok.
Okay, so can you allow me to speak in English? You can listen, right? No? Because, you know, for the sake of the public, and it's really unfortunate that you were not able to listen to the whole debate due to the technical issues.
Les juges demandent de parler en français parce que, en anglais parce que pour permettre aux autres de pouvoir aussi entendre, bien qu'ils n'ont pas pu à cause de quelques petites fautes techniques.
So first, I would like to congratulate you guys, you know, for putting in time and energy into coming here, and I really wish you good luck at this point. Although it's already at the end, but I'm sure you still need the luck because we are still compiling the marks. But I have a few comments, like general comments on the way you were improving. And the first one, if I have to compare you from the previous group, I felt like there was very little references. You did very little research because from all your perspective and all your arguments, there were little facts. There were little references to any studies or any readings that you did. That's one. Second, there was another issue. I mean, I didn't feel the energy, you know, coming from both of you, and I think probably this will be helpful for you next time you are attending a similar event. I did not feel like, you know, the energy and the passion within in the things that you were doing. So most of your examples, you know, to support your arguments were really basic for the audience that we have here. So next time probably it would have been better for you to read and make like proper reading so you can have facts and even countries that you may be naming in order to support what you're doing. And so that's why probably you were using less time than the time that you were given to you, because probably again you didn't have enough to say in terms of supporting your own arguments. But overall, I think you did your best into into expressing your views and making sure your points are coming across. So thank you very much.
Ok. So, donc vous préférez en français ou en anglais? Si je parle en anglais, vous allez comprendre. Ok. Donc je vais parler en français. Vraiment, félicitations. Je sais que c'était pas facile et que vous étiez un peu stressé. Donc, c'est apparu dans la façon dont vous parlez. Comme Hassan l'a dit, il y avait besoin de plus de passion et de vigueur dans la façon dont vous parlez. Parce que c'est un débat après tout. Même la façon dont vous parlez, ça vous aide à convaincre les gens. D'accord? Donc, une autre chose que j'ai notée, à un moment, vous étiez un peu trop personnel dans vos arguments. C'est-à-dire, vous dites Donald, vous dites Fadilat, mais il faut aller contre l'argument et pas nécessairement contre la personne. Vous pouvez donner des exemples sur d'autres personnes ou ce genre de choses, mais pas vraiment un exemple sur votre opposant, parce que ça change le ton même de la conversation. C'est un débat qui doit être intellectuel. D'accord? Et une dernière chose. Des fois, vous perdez entre la surveillance numérique et la surveillance numérique de l'État. C'est deux choses très différentes. Et je pense même Fadilat l'a mentionné à un moment, mais vous deux, vous vous êtes perdus dessus. Parce que si vous parlez de Facebook et d'autres entités privées, ça c'est vraiment différent de la surveillance étatique. Ils ne font même pas de la surveillance en vrai. Ils ont les données. Ils ont des données. Ils ne sont pas nécessairement en train de surveiller activement. Donc, il y a une grande différence et j'espère qu'après cela, vous pourrez aller faire d'autres recherches et en savoir encore plus. Mais félicitations à vous. Je sais que c'était... D'accord? Merci.
Bon, moi, je ne vais pas tarder aussi, mais je n'ai pas beaucoup de choses à dire parce que mes collègues, je pense qu'ils ont tout dit. Moi, j'ai trois éléments. D'abord, je regrette. Je regrette parce que ce n'était pas facile pour nous de juger un débat entre les juges et les participants. Bon, il faut le dire parce que techniquement, ce n'était pas bien pour nous d'être là pour juger un débat où les autres ne comprennent pas qu'est-ce qu'on fait. Et ça, je le dis, je regrette encore une fois. Le deuxième élément, c'est par rapport à l'attention de temps. Je pense que parfois, vous pourriez mieux utiliser le temps que vous avez à discuter. J'ai constaté plusieurs fois que, par exemple, vous avez laissé 3 minutes, parfois 2 minutes, et peut-être vous pourriez mieux utiliser le temps. Et juste pour finir, c'est par rapport à la vivacité, en fait. Et il faut le dire, parce qu'on a eu le débat en anglais, et on avait bien constaté comment les deux ont été très vivants. Même la jeune fille en ligne, il était très vivant, mais vous êtes là, vous êtes doux, vous êtes avec nous. Il fallait peut-être faire un peu plus.
Merci beaucoup, mesdemoiselles et messieurs. C'est comme ça que notre soirée vient de prendre fin ici dans cette salle, mais je vais devoir demander à tout le monde de pouvoir se tenir debout et de pouvoir bon, avant que je ne puisse partir, je vais demander à notre modérateur plutôt.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's clap hands for all the participants for the French speaking. Okay. I think I asked for some, French words and all that. I couldn't get them earlier on. I got a lot of French. So there I learned felicitations means congratulations. Now I know that if you want to say well done, you say bien fait. Guys, I learned something. Okay, so with that now, we are moving on to a short film as well as a cocktail that's coming right after this. It's going to be at the Meaty Conference Room, where we are going to be moving right away from here. So I think just a little bit of housekeeping issues. Make sure that if you've got any bags that you came with to this place, leave with your phones, your bags. Do not leave anything that belongs to you, because the organizers have stressed that they will not take responsibility for anything that will be lost. So just make sure that you're moving around with your things. Then if you need your cocktail tickets, here's the guide to see. So just and make sure that you are sorted as you move on. So with that now, that marks the end of the session that we're having here. I know it's not time to sleep yet, but if you want to say good night in French, it's bonne nuit. So I learned something as well. So ladies and gentlemen, we can move on to Meaty Conference Room. Thank you so much.